morning. Today is Hey Shvat, Tofshin Ayin Daled. We're in Teres Menachem Sefer HaMamorim, Tofshin Yud Aleph, Tofshin Yud Beis. In the Maimer of Bosi, Lgani, Tofshin Yud Beis. We are on page Reish Tes.
Dihile. Amidus.
Yeah, Amidus Baim. So we are up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines from the top of page Reish Tes, towards the end of Ois Gimel. At the full stop, the word Dihine. The Rebbe is in the middle of explaining the details of the serving Hashem through sacrificial offerings, as it is in the soul of the Jew. That the sacrificial offerings that were brought in the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple, find expression also in man's service to Hashem in the spiritual sense. So here he's in the middle of discussing the fact that the offering in the Beis HaMikdash in the temple would be consumed by fire, by the fire that came down from above and rested on the Mizbeach. What is that in terms of man's service of Hashem? That is the fire of love that is possessed within the godly soul. And he explained that the fire in the godly soul is compared to coals. Her coals are coals of fire, the flame of Yudke, the flame of Hashem. And he explained that there are 2 types of fires that are related to coals. One is a fire that's inside the coal, and one is a fire which is revealed and an open flame on the coal. The fire that's within the coal, obviously, is so bound up with the coal that it's actually concealed within the coal, you cannot discern it as separate. Whereas the fire that's on the coal, you could discern as separate, and as he brought from the Gemara, from the Mishnah of the Gemara, Masechta Beya, it is also possible for that fire to appear to be separate, and to be separate. However, says the Rebbe, and so these two fires correspond to two levels of the Esas Firas, 2 levels of the 10 divine attributes. One known as Esas Firas Agnuzus Matzilan, 10 divine attributes that are concealed within their emanator. And then there is Esas Firas Agluyas, the 10 revealed Spheres, as full-fledged, obvious Spheres, and that is where? In the world of Atzilus. Nevertheless, just like the fire that's within the coal, it is connected with the coal to such an extent that you can't even see them, so too the fire that's on the coal, meaning the Esas Firas Agluyas, the revealed Esas Firas, also remain attached to their source. And the Rebbe says this finds parallel expression also in the Nefesh Elokis. That in the godly soul too you have the hidden flame and you have the revealed flame, corresponding to the Esas Firas Gnuzis and the Esas Firas Agluyas, the fire in the coal and the fire on the coal. Dihine. Love is an emotion, right? And emotions are born from what? As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya? From the intellect. The emotions come from the intellect. When a person contemplates matters that bring one to love Hashem, that gives birth, that causes the birth of what? Of love to Hashem. However, when a person contemplates deeply, when he engrosses himself in the intellect, in the idea, appropriately, and he is immersed, and united, in the intellect, in the idea, at that point, there is no discernible existence to the emotion. Why? Because at that stage, the hamidah hiklula be'ilasa, the emotion is included in its cause, ve'ena bifnei atzma, and is not on its own. So when the person is involved deeply and in a very engrossed fashion in the intellectual idea, contemplating the idea which will bring him to the love is not there yet. It's only when he removes himself from the cause and lowers himself, he lowers himself to the effect. Then what happens is a transformation, the opposite. What is mainly felt is the existence of the emotion. Because then the midah is revealed. The emotion is revealed. In the metaphor, so in the metaphor, it would be that when the person is involved in the intellectual process, that's like Esas Firas Agnuzes B'Matzilam. That's like the 10 divine attributes that are hidden in their emanator. The midah is concealed, the emotion is concealed within what? Within the intellectual idea. And then when he removes himself and he lowers himself down and removes himself from the ilah, from the emotional idea that causes the birth of the midah, then the emotion comes into full existence. That is like the Esses Firas Agluyas. It corresponds to the 10 divine attributes as it is in a revealed form, right? But in both cases, as mentioned before, it still needs to remain connected to its source. So the midah, the emotion still needs to remain, even when it's a full-fledged, revealed midah and removed from the seichel, from the haskalah, from the intellectual idea, it still needs to remain connected. So she still remains tied to the contemplation which gave birth to her, to this emotion. And Biprati is stated in more detail to which aspect of the meichin, to which aspect of the intellectual levels does the midah remain connected. It remains connected to the intellectual excitement that one experiences during the contemplation, in the process of contemplation. Why? Because that is the midah, the intellectual excitement, when one is involved in pursuing an intellectual idea, is the midah shebemeichin. That's the midah aspect, the emotional aspect within the intellect itself. V'zeh, and this connection, noisen chayis v'teikev ba'amidah, gives life and strength gives life and force to the midah, to the emotion. Says the Rebbe, just like in the parable that we mentioned before, concerning the flame that is on the coal, the revealed flame. As mentioned before, it remains tied to what? To the fire that's within the coal, right? Through which the flame has constant existence, life, and strength, and force, right? So too it is concerning the love of the godly soul. It needs to remain tied with the love, as it is included still within the cause. This is the idea of the flame of Yudke, the flame of God. What does that mean? In which are consumed and included all the sacrificial offerings that one brings. What does that mean, Shalhevesko? It means the flame of Hashem, which always remains present within the godly soul, whether it is the excitement of the midah, the excitement of the emotion, whilst the one is still in the middle of the intellectual process. Whether it is the midah, the emotion, as it is a full-fledged, full-blown midah on its own, it always remains tied to Yudke, to Hashem, and that fuels it and gives it life and gives it force. Dalet. Now he goes into another aspect of the karbanos. It was mentioned before, the karbanos in lifnei havaya hayna l'mayla mehavaya. That karbanos reaches lifnei havaya, before Hashem, which means beyond Yudke Vavke. Ubemela, and therefore it's understood, move on is understood, not only does the korban reach lifnei havaya, a level which is beyond Yudke Vavke, But from this is understood that also the fire from above, the celestial fire, in which the korban is consumed, is also beyond Yudke Vavke. Right? How does that play itself out? What is the idea of the fire, which in Avodas Hashem, in man's service of Hashem, which is beyond Yudke Vavke? In man's service of Hashem, who it is that his service of Hashem is beyond reason and beyond intellect, beyond rational, super rational. The just like when we brought the sacrificial offerings in the temple. What was offered, specifically an animal, so too it is also now. Is connected to midim tiknu. When we are in the stage when we daven in place of the constant offerings, meaning to say that our prayers are in place of the sacrificial offerings, the service of Hashem, of the godly soul, needs to be not on its own, but it needs to work with what? What does one need to bring to Hashem? Ultimately, not only the godly soul should become close to Hashem, but the godly soul needs to work with the animal soul specifically. And not the service of Hashem on behalf of the godly soul alone, but rather it has to also work with the animal soul. It's specifically this service of Hashem, the service of Hashem that the godly soul works with the animal soul, bringing it as an offering to Hashem, that reaches the level which is beyond reason and beyond knowledge, beyond super rational. Beyond the chain order of creation.
Why do they use the word lifnei?
Sorry?
The word lifnei, before Hashem, meaning past Hashem. Why isn't it lemala then?
That's the posuk in the Chumash.
Well, the simple, it's a strange word. The simple meaning of the pasuk is lifnei Hashem. You bring the offering before Hashem. You come before Hashem with an offering. But embedded within the meaning of lifnei can also mean before. Even in today's Hebrew, right?
In front of.
The fanefna means I came here before you.
So we're saying beyond.
Before means beyond. If we're talking about madregas in levels, when we say before and after, when we say, for example, we learned Alpayim Shana Kadma Torah La'ilam. The world Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years. What does that mean? So Chassidus explains it's 2,000 levels. The concept of time was created when Hashem created the world. So what does it mean, lifnei? Kadmo Torah Le'olam, it preceded levels. So when you talk a level, which a higher level is before the lower level. So when you say lifnei Hashem, beyond Hashem, it means a level which is higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. So we'll continue Mitzvah tomorrow. That I was going to explain at length this idea of working with the Nefesh HaBahamis. If you remember, we learned before, and this is what the Rebbe elaborates now. The Rebbe touched on it before. That in the pasuk it says two things. It says Adam ki yakriv became korban la Hashem. It starts off saying that you bring a korban to Hashem. That denotes the avodah, the service of Hashem with the godly soul. Then min abhema min aboka min atzoin. The godly soul works with the animal soul. Boker and tzoin are the specific dimensions of the animal soul, right? And then once you do that, lifnei Hashem, you reach the level of lifnei Hashem beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei, and we will elaborate hopefully Mr. Hashem more on that tomorrow.